जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजना। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना। यमुना तीरवनचारी। यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। श्री राम संकीर्तन की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया। भगवतेरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 1, chapter number 13, text number 53, 52 and 53. श्रोतोभिर्सप्तभिर्या वै स्वरधुनी सप्तधा व्यधात्। सप्तानां प्रियते नाना सप्तश्रोतः प्रचक्षसे। श्रोतभिः सप्तभिर्या वै स्वरधुनी सप्तव्याधयात्। सप्तानां प्रियते नाना सप्तश्रोतः प्रचक्षते। श्रोतभिः सप्तभिर्या वै स्वरधुनी सप्तव्याधयात्। saptānāṁ prīyate nānā sapta-srotaḥ pracakṣate. Mataji. Whatever translation and whatever meaning and translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srotobhiḥ by currents, saptabhir by 7 divisions. Ya river, why certainly, svardhunī the sacred Ganges, saptadhā 7 branches, the 7 branches, vyadhāt created, saptānāṁ of the 7, prītaye for the satisfaction of, nānā various, sapta-srotaḥ 7 sources, pracakṣate known by name. Translation: the place is called sapta-srotaḥ, implies divided by 7, because there the waters of the sacred Ganges were divided into 7 branches. This was done for the satisfaction of 7 great rishis. This is having no purport, so we'll read the next verse. Snatva nusavānam tasmain hutva chagnin yatha vidhi abhaksha upassanatma sa aste vigatashanai. Translation: on the banks at Sapta-srota, Dhritarashtra is now engaged in beginning Ashtanga Yoga by bathing 3 times daily, in the morning, noon, and evening, by performing the Agnihotra sacrifice with fire and drinking only water. This helps one control the mind and senses and frees one completely from the thoughts of familial affection. Purport: the yoga system is a mechanical way to control the senses and the mind and divert them from the matter to spirit. The preliminary process are the sitting posture, meditation, spiritual thoughts, manipulation of air passing within the body, and a gradual situation in trance, facing the absolute person, Paramatma. Such mechanical ways of rising to the spiritual platform prescribe some regulative principles of taking bath daily 3 times, fasting as far as possible, sitting and concentrating the mind on spiritual matters, and thus gradually becoming free from Vishaya or material objectives. Material existence means to be absorbed in the material objective, which is simply illusory. House, country, family, material, society, children, property, and business are some of the material coverings of the spirit, Atma. And the yoga system helps one to become free from these illusory thoughts and gradually turn towards the absolute person, Paramatma. By material association and education, we learn simply to concentrate on flimsy things. But yoga is the process of forgetting them altogether. Modern so called yogis and yoga systems manifest some magical feats, and ignorant persons are attracted by such false things and they accept the yoga system as a cheap healing process for diseases of the gross body. But factually, the yoga system is the process of learning to forget what we have acquired through the struggle for existence. Dhritarashtra was all along engaged in improving family affairs by raising the standard of living of his sons or by usurping the property of the Pandavas for the sake of his own sons. These are common affairs for the man grossly materialistic and without knowledge of the spiritual force. He does not see how this can drag one from the heaven to hell. By the grace of his younger brother Vidur, Dhritarashtra was enlightened and could see his grossly illusory engagements. And by such enlightenment, he was able to leave home for spiritual realization. Sri Naradeva was just foretelling the way of his spiritual progress in a place which was sanctified by the flow of the celestial Ganges. Drinking water only, without solid food, is also considered fasting. Sajala. This is necessary for advancement of spiritual knowledge. A foolish man wants to be a cheap yogi without observing regular principle. A man who has no control over his tongue at first can hardly become a yogi. Yogi and bhogi are two opposite terms. The bhogi or the merry man who eats and drinks cannot be a yogi. For a yogi is never allowed to eat and drink unrestrictedly. We may note with profit how Dhritarashtra began his yoga system by drinking water only and sitting calmly in a place with the spiritual atmosphere, deeply absorbed in the thoughts of Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Jai Prabhupada. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम् हरे कृष्ण So, welcoming all of you for this morning discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. We are in this context wherein Sri Narad Muni is coming and pacifying Yudhishthira Maharaj. This is the third attempt to pacify Yudhishthira Maharaj. Firstly, it was Krishna personally was trying to pacify the afflicted Yudhishthira Maharaja, and he was himself not able to do it by his own ways and means. And then eventually there was even many sages, Vyasdev, and all other sages, they also tried to pacify, not possible, because Lord Krishna had plans to glorify his devotee Bhishma. So that was the first time when Bhishma was the counselor of um, Yudhishthir Maharaj, and now again Yudhishthir Maharaj is afflicted. Prabhu, Yudhishthir Maharaj is afflicted, and he is wanting to get, he's needing help basically. So this is Narad Muni personally comes in and gives his kind association to Maharaj Yudhishthir. And we have discussed in the previous days how Yudhishthir Maharaj is being told, don't worry, if the philosophy is explained, then the practicalities of the whole thing is explained. And here the future is being explained. So the future is that Dhritarashtra is going to a place which is known to be Svardhunī, the banks of river Ganga, Svardhunī, and at a place where Ganga herself distributed into 7 tributaries, 7 kind of rivers. So saptadhā, because to please the 7 rishis, so that there is no space constraint or kind of any problems amongst the rishis. So fine. So all the sapta-srotaḥ, that is place in it exists still in Uttarakhand. Devotees can go and have a visit if they want to. And also further he says that what is he going to do there? So he is going to practice the Ashtanga Yoga system. So that means Dhritarashtra is going to bathe 3 times daily, performing sacrifice according to scriptural rules, drinking water. He will not eat food. He will only have water. Then he will control the mind. So this is basically the Ashtanga Yoga process. So the niyamas are bathing, the yama is fasting, and, that means only drinking water. And also keeping the mind calmed, and then destroying the attachments. So asana, pranayam and pratyahar, that he will be sitting and sitting postures, breathing pranayam, and pratyahar means withdrawing the 6 senses including the mind. And then that is explained in the 3rd line. And then the last line is describing dharana and dhyana. That means destroying the contamination of the 3 modes. The meditation will be there on the Lord. That means sa aste vigata eshah. That means without any other thoughts, the only thought is that of the Lord, Supreme Person of Godhead. So that's what is explained in this verse. And before we go to the purport, I'll also try to give you kind of a background of why is this bona fide, is this proper? This is proper, of course, given in Srimad Bhagavatam. But who is affiliating it? The affiliation to this is given by Lord Krishna personally. Lord Krishna speaks this whole procedure of how to leave and what to do after leaving in the Srimad Bhagavatam, canto number 11, chapter number 18. And we will go through those texts if, it is there. So just the text We will just go through the texts. So here it is told that Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So this is third order of life, that means Vanaprastha. So one who desires to adopt the third order of life, Vanaprastha, should enter the forest with a peaceful mind. One में जाना है Vanaprastha. And what he should do, should he take his wife or not? Both the options are there. He can choose to take his wife if that's a need, or if he is sufficiently detached, then he can also leave the wife in the care of his matured sons, the sons who will not throw away his wife, but will take care. Then, so that he is anxiety free, he is not remaining with those thoughts कि उसका क्या होगा, property हड़प तो नहीं लिया, etc. Then, having adopted a Vanaprastha order of life, one should arrange one's sustenance by not tiffin dabba, but by eating uncontaminated bulbs, roots, fruits that grow in the forest. Prabhu, we are going to the texts only. Go to the next translation and only you can go one page before and just put the text only, that if that is also option is available. Just go here, chapter 18. वहाँ पे click करो chapter 18 में. Yes. And just go below. Go down. Yeah, वहाँ पे text 1, 2 आएगा, वहीं पे रुक जाइए. So text 2 says, having adopted a Vanaprastha order of life, one should arrange one's sustenance by eating uncontaminated bulbs. यानी कि what is that called? Roots, kandamoola, ityadi, right? And the fruits that grow in the forest. And one may dress oneself with what? Only tree bark, grass, leaves, big leaves are available. Or animal skins, if that is already tigers eat and leave the skins, that's available, we can cover ourselves. The Vanaprastha should not groom the hair on his head, so means jatadhari hona hai, body or face, so one should not take combs along with him there, and should not manicure his nails. Itna details diye dekho, Bhagavan khud bol rahe hain, Lord is himself saying, should not pass stool and urine at irregular times, that means that is also fixed. And should not make any special endeavor for dental hygiene, मतलब brush भी नहीं करना है, right? He should be content to take bath in water 3 times daily and should sleep on the ground. So the sleeping place, eating place, bathing place, everything Lord personally is sharing. Then text 4, yeah. So this is the protocols. Thus engaged in a Vanaprastha, one should engage and execute penance during the hottest summer days by subjecting oneself to burning fires on 4 sides and the blazing sun overhead. During the rainy season, one should remain outside, means no chhatri and no chat. Then subjecting oneself to the torrents of rain, right? And in the freezing winter, one should remain submerged in water up to one's neck. So that is the protocols. So there is this hurricane going on now in the east of US, going on today also. So there is the reporter, weather channel reporter was giving a report, and while the report he was giving, he was also being blown away. Practically just ended up holding on to the whatever he could hold to remain, otherwise he would also have been blown. So in spite of that, subjecting oneself to the torrents of rain, one has to stand there. Next, what he should eat. One may eat foodstuffs prepared with fire, such as grains or fruits ripened by time. Nowadays we are having other ways of ripening fruits. Without that also, only by time it has to ripen. One may grind one's food with either a mortar or pestle, or with one's own teeth. Text 6. The Vanaprastha should personally collect whatever he requires for his bodily maintenance, means he should not have servants around. Carefully consider the time, place, and his own capacity, not beyond capacity. He should never collect for the future. Kal ke liye, parso ke liye, no. Then one who has accepted the Vanaprastha order of life should perform seasonal sacrifices according to seasons. by offering oblations to charu and sacrificial cakes, prepared from rice grains found in the forest. The Vanaprastha, however, may never offer animal sacrifices to me, even those mentioned in the Vedas. That means no meat eating. The Vanaprastha should perform the Agnihotra, that means which is given here in this verse also, in our verse which being described here in Darsha and Purnamasa sacrifices, as he did while in Grihastha Ashrama, he should also perform the vows and sacrifices of Chaturmasya, which is going on now. Since all of these rituals are enjoined for the Vanaprastha Ashrama by expert known of the Vedas. The saintly Vanaprastha practicing severe penances and accepting only bare necessities of life. This is the crux. Severe penances and bare necessities of life. Becomes so emaciated that he appears to be mere skin and bones. That means he should not grow fat in the forest. Thus, worshipping me through severe penances, he goes to the Maharloka planet and that directly achieves me. So there is a step-by-step process. Now, there is something that should not be done. One who executes with long endeavor, executes this painful but exalted penance, which awards ultimate liberation simply to achieve insignificant sense gratification, must be considered greatest fool. And if the Vanaprastha is overtaken by old age, which is the case of Dhritarashtra in this text 11 only, and because of his trembling body is no longer able to execute his prescribed duties, he should place the sacrificial fire within his heart by meditation. Then, fixing his mind on me, he should enter the fire, giving up his body. So Dhritarashtra is going to do this in the future. Now, whether he fixed his mind on Krishna or not, that we will see. The future speakers will reveal that. Stay tuned. And if this is the next option, if he is not going, to the highest platform, which is recommended, which is given for the Vanaprastha, then there is another option. So if the Vanaprastha understanding that even promotion to Brahma Loka, that means Maharloka jane wala tha, but Brahma Loka is a miserable situation, develops complete detachment from all possible results of fruitive activities, then he may take the sannyas order of life. So sannyas order from Vanaprastha has to be taken only when sufficient detachment has been developed, and detachment will be developed by this whole process of tapasya. So this is the basically the situation which Dhritarashtra is going to undergo on the basis of Shastric injunction. So we will discuss about tapasya. We are done. We'll discuss a bit about tapasya, whatever time we are remaining with. So because basically Vanaprastha life, the crux, the whole thing is about practicing tapasya. And what is tapasya means? Prabhupada, very beautiful definition he gives. Tapasya means voluntary acceptance of bodily pains to achieve something higher. And that's the definition. So Prabhupada says in a lecture, tapasya means voluntarily agree to suffer. This is called tapasya. Why? Voluntary suffering is there anyways. We are suffering in this material world, tap and birth, death, all this disease. But why not suffer for Krishna? So everyone is unhappy anyways. So if we just choose to be unhappy for the purpose of pleasing Krishna, that is known as tapasya. So is there a need of doing tapasya? Without tapasya, my life is fine. Why should I do? So in 3rd canto, 12th chapter, text number 19, Lord Brahma says the need. So he says that by penance only, so by penance only can one approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is within the heart of every living entity, and at the same time beyond the reach of all the senses. तो नहीं जा सकते हम अपने senses से, तो फिर क्या तरीका है? Tapasya. Another text from 3rd canto only says, Durapahi alpa tapasa seva vaikunta vartmasu yatra payagyete nityam deva devo janardana. So this text is little tricky. We will try to understand. It says that those who are performing meager austerities, they cannot obtain service to pure devotees, which is the path to gain mercy of Lord. Right? So now this verse tells that tapasya if we do, then we get association of devotees and service unto them, and by their service we get entry to Godhead. But the acharyas explain that this is just a conventional expression. Bhakti process does not depend on tapasya. If one does tapasya, it is not that he will get bhakti. There are details for this. So in the 5th canto, first we saw tapasya is needed. Here in 5th canto, and Bharat Maharaj is explaining to Rahugana that tapasya is not needed. What is the need of tapasya? Rahuganet tapasya na yati, na chejan nerva apanad grihadva, na chandasa naiva jalagni surya vina mat pad rajobhishekam. If you are not doing abhishek, bathing yourself by the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, what is the use of all the tapasya? And Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says in the end of 88th chapter, Vedeshu yajñeshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva yogim paramasthanam apaiti chadyam. So if you just do bhakti, then all the Vedeshu, reading of Vedic scriptures, yajñeshu, yajña, tapa, dana, punya phalam, everything is already ordained. You need not do anything separately. And an extreme statement given in the Shastras, Aradhito yadi haris tapasa tathakim, na aradhito haris tapasa tathakim, antar vahir yadi haris tapasa tathakim, nantar vahir yadi haris tapasa tathakim. If the Lord, if you are aradhana, if you are doing worship of Lord Hari, what is the need of tapasya? And if you are not worshipping Lord Hari, na aradhita, not worshipping properly, then what is the use of all the austerities that one is doing? Right? And then another antar bahir yadi haris. If the Lord is there within the heart and without, if one is serving, then what is the use of tapasya? Because that is what is the crux, that is what is the final thing. And nantar bahir yadi. If Lord is not within and without one's consciousness, then what is the use of useless tapasya? So thus the Shastras are talking on both sides. You have to do tapasya, you should not do tapasya. So what to do? Bhakti in itself is not bound by anything external like penances or tapasya as such. At the same time, there is bhakti anukul tapasya, which we are supposed to do as bhaktas. That means tapasya in Krishna consciousness needs to be done, which is anukul for bhakti. Prabhupada says in one lecture that tapasya is needed. Just see how much tapasya is needed for achieving perfection of life. For the Vanaprastha, Prabhupada was quoting in this 11th canto, 18th chapter, text number 4. He was speaking on that and he was telling so much of tapasya has to be done. But now, in this age of Kali Yuga, we are just telling, just do these 4 things. No meditating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. And that is also becoming tough for the people. This is the problem, Prabhupada said. So, this is not a very big tapasya. But this tapasya also becomes, because we are so degraded, this tapasya also becomes problem. Simple Ekadashi, Prabhupada was saying. Ekadashi, we tell devotees to fast. Is that very difficult? It's simple tapasya. But that tapasya also becomes difficult because of this age, because of our limited capacity of performing, kind of penances. So, what are we supposed to do in our process of bhakti? Tapasya is simply what is keeping the instructions of the Lord and our Guru in the center. That is a simple tapasya that we have to do. Not being independent of what the Lord wants or what the Guru wants. That means, in simple terms, bhakti, anukul tapasya means to simply follow the instructions of the Lord and his representatives. So, Shastric examples of tapasya, the whole cosmos began with the word tapa, right? And the first, personality of this material world, he also practiced tapasya for a long time. That is Lord Brahma. And even his first sons, the four Kumaras, Chatush Kumaras, are known for being so much tapasvi. Again, the next son, Rudra, he was told, you stop doing anything now, because if you are activated, you are doing destruction, which is not the proper time. So please go and do tapasya. So he was also sent for doing tapasya. And then what about Narada? So he also, we see that Narada boy, that example, first canto, 6th chapter, there he is going and doing tapasya. For how long? For practically 5 years old, till the time he leaves his body, is doing tapasya. Then we see first canto, there is Parikshit Maharaj doing tapasya. 7 days, 7 nights, no eating, no sleeping, no drinking water, no power nap, no japki. And then in the third canto, we see Parikshit, our Kardam Muni, doing tapasya. Such tapasya that Lord personally comes. Bhagavan Swayam aate hain, and he sheds tears seeing his tapasya, that Sarovar is still there, Bindu Sarovar. And then seeing his example, his wife Devahuti performs tapasya in third canto, 33rd chapter. Such tapasya, she also becomes Jatadhari. Then in fourth canto, we see Dhruv Maharaj perform tapasya. Such tapasya that at least 3 times in Srimad Bhagavatam itself it is glorified. What tapasya? 6-year-old child, 5 years old child is performing tapasya for 6 months. And he is able to see the Lord. Then the fourth canto, we see Prachini Parishad also performs tapasya, leaving everything. The Prachetas perform tapasya within the water. And we see here our Vidura has come to, just shake Dhritarashtra, get out of this place, by hearing the, whole pastime of Prachini Parishad. We see further 5th canto, Bharat Maharaj performs tapasya, leaving everything, right? Even that Agnidhara also performed tapasya, but that was for some other purpose. Of course, and Daksha Maharaj also performs tapasya in 6th canto. And then 7th canto, very famous, Hiranyakashipu performs tapasya. What tapasya? 10,000 years standing on the tip of the toe. We did some exercise, that we told, come on, someone of you stand up on the tip of the toe, for at least 1 minute. 1 minute? Even a couple of seconds became tough. And Hiranyakashipu standing on the tip of the toe for 10,000 years, 10,000 years. And Ravan performed tapasya. We see Pururava performed tapasya for what? For Urvashi. So thus, which tapasya is favorable, which is not, that is given by Lord Krishna only in the 17th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, tapasya in 3 modes. So he says, 17th chapter, that penance which is performed out of foolishness, with self-torture and to destroy or injure others, दूसरों को तकलीफ पहुंचाने के कारण से जो तपस्या किया जाता है, that is said to be the mode of ignorance. Examples, Ravan, Hiranyakashipu. The whole reason for Hiranyakashipu to perform tapasya was to kill Vishnu, trouble the Brahmanas, etc. So the penance performed out of pride for the sake of gaining respect, honor, worship is said to be the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. Example of passionate tapasya is Dhruv Maharaj, Daksha Prajapati, etc. Pururava, I want something in return. Then best is the threefold tapasya, that means body, mind, words, which is also given in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is performed with transcendental faith. This faith has to be there by men not expecting material benefits, but engage only for the sake of supreme. That is known as the mode of goodness. That means goodness tapasya. For example, all our acharyas, they have also done lots of tapasya. हमारे जो आचार्य गण हैं, they have done good amount of tapasya, so much of tapasya. The first acharya whom we can recollect doing so much of tapasya is Raghunath Das Goswami. Eating what? 3 drops of buttermilk, 3 boon छाछ की. And how many, what is the frequency? Once in 3 days. sipping that. I don't know if he can sip 3 drops. But after doing that, he chastises himself, curses himself. I am such a sense gratifier. मैं कितना बड़ा भोगी हूँ. So, this is Raghunath Das Goswami standard. Then we have also Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. They are also performing tapasya by staying not in one place for under one tree. They are staying under trees, but that too not getting attached to under one tree. Shifting trees every now and then. And writing, practically not sleeping, 1.5 hours sleep, Prabhupada says. And then we see Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur performing tapasya. He is performing tapasya for 9 long years, chanting 1 billion names. And of course, our Srila Prabhupada performing tapasya by, we will see that, at the conclusion of our discussion. Even to just stay in Vrindavan, by all our majority acharyas, staying in Vrindavan in itself is tapasya, the kind of climatic conditions there currently. So much of heat, so much of rain, so much of cold, meager facilities, tapasya. Even when devotees go and stay in nice hotels, that is also, they feel the tapasya. So what is the benefits of performing tapasya? Why should we do that hard work? Benefits is, first is, if we are performing tapasya, we become free from sense gratification. The very concept of my identification that I am this body, that is having a chance to get reduced. And also by performing tapasya, we reduce the necessities of the body, thus we get more time for serving Krishna, serving Guru. If we want to not perform tapasya, then so much of time goes away in simply serving my senses. But instead of serving my senses, I choose to serve my Guru. That's interesting and important. And also, by performing tapasya, we are able to actualize the goal of our life, that is to go back home, back to Godhead. Now, what is the philosophy behind performing tapasya? This is important, because if we don't know what is the philosophy, then it becomes all the more difficult to practice. So, by default, everyone in this material world wants to do sense gratification. Gauranga Prabhu says we may not know that we are doing sense gratification, as the word, before coming to Krishna consciousness, but we engage ourselves into that. So, naam pata nahi hoga, lekin kiya bahut hai. So, where does sense gratification begin from? It begins from material desire. Now, what's wrong with the material desire? What's the problem if one has material desires? Material desires is many problems. First of all, it is short-lived, it is temporary, and it creates agitation, it creates mental agitation, physical agitation. It entangles us in birth, death, old age, disease. It's a whole cycle which is never ending until and unless we leave this gratification of senses. And the more you give it, the more it demands. It never gets fulfilled. Jitna doge, utna wo mangega. And also, it hampers that self-realization which we are looking forward for. So, the material things, anything that we do in the material world, it is having 3 characteristics. Number 1, it is changeable and perishable. Number 2, it is having a dual nature. And number 3, it is relative. Changeable and perishable मतलब जो भी आप करेंगे, it will be नश्वर. आप कुछ भी लीजिए. Let us say, I want to purchase a car. Then what happens? That car will, be no longer new after some days, some months, some years, because it is perishable, it is changeable, right? This is material world. You take a mobile phone, laptop, car. In the beginning, it seems, wow, I have got the special laptop, M2, MacBook, this, that. This is not M2, but this is what happens. But as soon as a few days, months pass away, we find something better there in the market, and then we are like, this is duality. Duality means that, there is also a need of repairing, and there is also a need of maintaining, there is also a need of taking, making ends meet. वो जिम्मेदारी उसका आता है पूरा. So although I was expecting only pleasure, there is also pain carrying on with that. And then the third thing is relative. Anything that I have, I always find something better around. I don't have always the best with me. So thus changeable, perishable, dual. But Krishna is not changeable. Krishna is not perishable. Krishna is not dual. Krishna is not relative. He is absolute. That's why if you want happiness, the real happiness is in Krishna consciousness. That's why we need to be engaged in Krishna conscious activities. Yet the material desires keep pinching. They always keep troubling. So if we love material objects, then Krishna is out. If we put Krishna in our heart, then material objects go out. This is the solution also. So we need to see that actually if there is impurities outside, we are able to see the impurities around because there is impurities filled in the heart. If the heart is cleansed, if the heart is having Krishna, then there will be no impurities outside. That's why the solution is simply to engage ourselves in Krishna Tattva, Krishna activity, Krishna service. So if we establish Krishna within, then there is good amount of possibility that we just can release ourselves from the clutches of the torture that we actually are doing to ourselves by engaging in sense gratification. But the material desires are there, they again bind us, they again pull us down. So the solution to that is burn the material desires, fry it. Like Kama Karma Beej, you need to take it and roast it over the frying pan. Then it will not again come up. So that is the process of tapasya. Tapasya means tapa is needed, the fire is needed for removing the material desires. Example is given that of fever. If someone is having fever, then he has to take medication and injections. Although it may be bitter, although it may be troubling, but there is guidelines, there is restriction, but one has to do it anyways because his restlessness will go away. But the challenge is that we don't want it. If you give a child an injection, if you give a child a bitter medicine, it cries. But when we grow, we don't cry. Why don't we cry when we grow up? Because we understand its value. So when we start doing tapasya, when we understand the value of what we are going to get when we are doing the tapasya, what is the goal of it, when we understand, then this process becomes pratipadam purna amrita aswadanam. Right? Then this process becomes beautiful. So when we understand the value of the injection, of the value of the bitter medicines, the value of, then we don't complain. Then this tapasya process does not become a hindrance in our process, but for doing this, we need to give up our childish nature. So tapasya means, in short, saying yes to Krishna and no to Maya. But what the mind says, no to Krishna, yes to Maya. And that's why tapasya means to fight. So what to do? The last part of our discussion. What is to be done? Tapasya means to accept things favorable to Krishna consciousness. That is known as tapasya. And what is another understanding? To reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. So to accept things favorable to Krishna consciousness with great bliss is tapasya. And to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness with great disgust is tapasya. In the beginning it is tough, eventually it becomes enjoyable. Simply to give tea, give coffee, give up biscuits, give up marigold 50-50, that becomes difficult in the beginning. But eventually, it is not a very big deal. It's fine because we're getting the higher taste. So that's the option. So intelligent people will never shun tapasya, and coward people will always run away from tapasya. So that's why Rishabdev tells his sons, Tapo divyam putraka yena satyam. Don't do tapasya on this within the material modes. Divya tapasya. That means, do things that is favorable, and that is what is known as also vairagya. We can do tapasya when we have vairagya. So vairagya means, vyukta vairagya means using everything in Krishna's service. So whatever Krishna is giving facility, we use that for service to Krishna. And that is to be done under the jurisdiction of the instruction of our spiritual master. So when the spiritual master gives instruction, that to perform, do that is known as actually tapasya. So I'll just take a couple of, maybe a minute more to explain this. So anytime instruction comes, we need to do it anyways. That's intelligence. And with proper attitude, with favorable attitude, if we do, that's growth in our spiritual life. If we anyways do it and we don't have the favorable attitude, then we are actually, we will be suffering, even when we do it, because we are actually not doing it in a favorable way. So better is, if Krishna is giving us facilities for doing anything while we are performing our practice of bhakti, then that is fine. If there is facility, it's okay. If there is no facility, then also what is needed is our enthusiasm. So we should have our enthusiasm to perform tapasya, and yet, ultimately perform devotional service. We can see that in the life of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada also was there, um, समय की पाबंदी है, but still, can I take 1 minute? No. Okay. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Forgive me.